A lot of people have been asking me what I think about the weird UFO sightings popping up all over the country. Apparently, one of the aircraft that we shot down is shaped like a cylinder, and another one is shaped like an octagon. And people want to know, is it the Chinese? Is it aliens? Do aliens exist? Politico is reporting that UFO fever has gripped Washington, D.C. And so, since people keep asking, I'll tell you. My main thought is that 50 freight cars derailed on Friday night in Ohio near the Pennsylvania border, leaking, according to reports, at least 1 million pounds of vinyl chloride, which is an extremely dangerous chemical and a known carcinogen. The safe exposure limit for vinyl chloride is less than 1 part per million. After the derailment, workers used small explosives to blow a hole in the rail cars to drain the vinyl chloride, which they collected in a trench and then set on fire, which seems to have made an already enormous problem much, much worse because burning vinyl chloride sends hydrochloric acid into the air along with phosgene, which you may recall from history class is one of the poison gases used during World War I. Seems like a pretty important news story, and yet it's not getting very much coverage. We've just got UFO fever. We're not really paying attention to these other stories. At least one reporter from News Nation who tried to cover the story in Ohio was actually arrested on the scene.
You want me to file charges on you right now?
Go ahead.
I am allowed to be here. Did you not see that man put his hands on
shut it down. You continued on.
Go.
Now.
Go. Now.
Or you can go to jail. Sir. You want to go to jail for criminal trespassing?
Do
you want to go to jail for criminal trespassing? Do you understand?
You know how quickly our lawyers will get me out?
I don't care.
Sir, can we
I don't care.
Just go outside.
Let's talk outside.
Go.
Let's talk outside. Come on, outside. Come on.
Out the door. Out the door. By other media right here. I'm going to listen.
I don't care. You're going to walk out the door.
I'm going to listen.
You're going to walk out the door.
Do not touch me.
You're going to stand outside.
You are.
Or you're going to jail.
Let's go. Let's go.
Come on. Out. Out. You're under arrest. Under arrest.
Oh, sir.
Oh my God! You guys, this is bad. Stop.
I am on the ground. What are you trying to do? Okay,
Stop resisting! Stop this!
Pretty weird. And while I am mildly interested in China's latest espionage activities in the United States, I don't really care all that much about UFOs. Aliens aren't real. Vinyl chloride is. And yet, which one is everybody talking about? Aliens aren't real. I know that's a controversial observation to make in this. They're not real. There is no evidence. There is zero evidence, empirical or evidence that we can deduce from our limited observations about the natural world using human reason, zero evidence that extraterrestrial aliens exist at all. Some people say that the universe is really, really big, therefore aliens must exist. That is a non sequitur. It does not follow from the universe is really, really big that aliens exist. The reason that people believe in aliens now, when people didn't used to believe in aliens, is not because of any new scientific discovery. There has been exactly zero scientific discovery that would suggest any increased likelihood for the existence of aliens. Some people will say, well, it's so large that statistically there have to be aliens. That's not how statistics work. You might be able to make that argument. It might be somewhat persuasive if we knew anything about the physical origins of life. We do not. So there is zero reason to believe that life, certainly not conscious life, has cropped up anywhere else in the universe. It doesn't matter how big the universe is. The universe could be infinite. There would not be any logical reason to believe that life's existence here would imply life elsewhere. This is a way for atheists and agnostics to express religious longing and wonder. People will say, well, you religious people, you believe in angels and demons. That's true. There is much, much more evidence for angels and demons than there is for extraterrestrial aliens. I don't want to belabor the point. I'm just so sick of the stupid UFO alien stuff. There's much, much more evidence for angels and demons because angels and demons are pure spirit. That is the definition of what an angel and a demon is. And so if you believe that spiritual things exist at all, if you believe that the human person has a soul, if you believe that some things don't have a rational soul, like animals and rocks and trees and stuff, and that certain beings do exhibit a rational soul, then the fact that the soul exists could imply that there are beings that are purely spiritual, not purely physical, like rocks and stuff, not hylomorphic, body and soul, like human beings, but pure spirit as well. There is no, the suggestion that aliens exist pose certain theological problems pertaining to the fall and redemption of the world, which is a discussion, I suppose, for another time because it's somewhat involved. But all of which to say, the thing that everybody is focused on right now is almost certainly not real. And the problems that we're ignoring are real. So what are the UFOs? According to the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration, we've got lots of weird UFOs flying above our heads. And I love how last week there was UFO fever and we found out it was a Chinese spy balloon. And we found another Chinese spy balloon. Then we found out that the Chinese have a number of aircraft that we had not previously detected flying over U.S. airspace. And then a week later, we shoot down some aircraft and the Pentagon won't give us too much information about it. And everyone says, well, it's got to be ET. Not that it's obviously more Chinese aircraft, the likes of which we were seeing all of last week. No. It's got to be something totally different. Here we go, baby. This is it. The alien invasion is on. People only believe in the alien invasion because they have given up the other and more correct version of eschatology, the end of times. So people used to look up to the sky and wait for the four horsemen to start flying down and Christ to descend for the second coming. That used to be their vision of the end of the world. But now, because people have thrown away, they've convinced themselves that it's somehow unreasonable to believe in true and traditional religion. Now we're just waiting for ET to come down in a flying saucer and zap the White House. Because that's apparently more reasonable than the true religion that has animated our civilization for 2,000 years. Yeah, okay. We had a potential object detected over Montana Saturday night. The military shot down a cylindrical object over Alaska. It was about the size of a small car, so it was smaller than those Chinese balloons last week. No aliens yet. We can look at Area 51, but no aliens have been discovered yet. A related point to my point about the chemical spill in Ohio. We know that there is a little green man type of alien that is causing lots of trouble to our country. And yet, we ignore that problem and we worry about the imaginary little green men who don't exist and don't pose any problem to our country. There are millions of aliens pouring into our country every single year. Some of them have tattooed their faces entirely green and they're members of a gang called MS-13. But we kind of ignore that issue. We don't really talk about that one too much in the establishment media because instead we're going to distract ourselves with ET. People like to distract themselves with fantastical stories because it gives them something to focus their attention and worry on that they can't actually do anything about. We could do something about our southern border and stop the little green aliens who are currently coming in. We could do something about that, but we can't muster the political will to do it. We can't muster the political unity that's necessary to do that. And so we have to distract ourselves with imaginary problems about which there is nothing that one can possibly do.